that said, we're trying to be a playoff squad. We don't want to take on your money. We lied. Because my colleague at Hoops Hype wrote that the Detroit Pistons are seeking a future first-round pick to be trade facilitators using their $14 million cap space in a multi-team trade scenario. Teams looking to dump unwanted salary to duck below the luxury tax threshold or the second apron or first apron have circled with interest. Additionally, Malik Beasley has been drawing trade interest from several championship contenders, but wants to remain in Detroit, and it seems like that might be something that's going both ways. I believe if there are people who are going to be available for trade on the Detroit Pistons roster, it's going to be guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., Simone Fontecchio. Who else? It's Tim Hardaway, Simone Fontecchio. I really think if they get a first round pick, sure, Malik can go. But if he doesn't, I think they're cool bringing him back. Malik's going to get money this offseason, probably the full mid-level exception. I think they're going to keep Paul Reed. I really do think this is a team that would want some front court help, but yeah, I don't have much else to talk about this one because we have another video discussing the playoff push. So if you want to see that one, go check that out. And Detroit's solid and all. It's just like, why would you put yourself at risk to, I guess in this case, just maybe to lose out on re-signing him and then trading him down the road? Because it seems like there's a decent relationship there. So to me, when you are the 14th best scoring offense, 16th best field goal percentage, 10th worst 3-point percentage, 19th worst 11th best rebounding team, and the 9th worst passing team. So I think the Pistons are just trying to show that they're getting out of the rebuilding phase, as accumulating assets isn't the number one priority. But yeah, obviously if you're acting as a trade facilitator, they saying, hey, we'll take on a first round pick and we'll give you some caps. We'll use your cap space to take on a salary. And hey, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I definitely think it's something to keep an eye out for, as I've wondered for a while if they are going to be the ones working with other teams, because it's been more alluded that like the Hornets, the Raptors are all more viable options to be salary trade fillers. So I think that's the big one to watch out for. And it gets me just curious when you look at the whole situation of who's going to be the hottest guy or the first guy to trade, because that's the one that I always get interested by.
Yo, what's going on, guys? And we're hearing that Detroit is allegedly still willing to be a facilitator. They have the most amount of cap space heading into next weekend's, or not next weekend's, but next week's trade deadline, with about $14 million in cap space. My coworker, Michael Scott at Hoops Hype, reports that the Detroit Pistons are willing to play ball and to eat somebody's bad contract, but it's going to cost them a first round pick. So before we start today's video, I want to hear that down below in the comment section. If you were the Detroit Pistons or another team, would you trade a first round pick to get rid of a bad contract? Now, if you want to read the full report, hit the link in the description of hoopsite.com. Go check out my colleague's Michael Scotter's full report right there. Now, let's just talk about why is this a big deal? Because we were told about a month ago that the Pistons weren't going to make a trade or like take on bad contracts due to the fact that they believe they could make a playoff push, and that they rather have continuity than to continue to make trades under new general manager Trajan Langdon. Obviously, I think everybody has a price, and the Detroit Pistons clearly have set one. The Detroit Pistons are seeking a future first-round pick to be trade facilitators using their $14 million cap space in a multi-team trade scenario, sources told Hoops Hype. And if you guys didn't know, with the current collective bargaining agreement, it's actually easier to make a trade with multiple teams instead of just two. Now, teams looking to dump unwanted salaries to duck below the luxury tax threshold or to get below the second apron are circling and talking to the Pistons with interest. In case you missed it, Pistons sharpshooter and upcoming free agent Malik Beasley has also drawn trade interest from championship contenders as he's on a $6 million expiring deal. However, both the Pistons and Malik Beasley have stated that they would like to keep him. The rest of the video is going to be about what we talked a month ago of them wanting to make a playoff push. So let me hear your thoughts.
Now, the balancing act, like the Pistons are going to be a team that comes to, if they continue to play like this, their dreams of being a playoff team will come sooner to fruition than they thought it would. Regardless if it's this season, they're definitely going to be a playoff team next year with the type of year that they've had. Cade Cunningham is not only having an all-star year, but he's a guy who should have some all-NBA consideration. 24 points a game, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and he's really blossomed into the franchise leader that they've needed. I think bringing in Tobias Harris, and who would have thought Tim Hardaway Jr. have kind of brought stability to this team, and Malik Beasley as well have brought the much-needed shooting that they've needed, and Cunningham's been able to thrive by that created floor spacing that was much needed. Now, Detroit was able to improve their offensive efficiency. It reflected in their 46.7% team field goal percentage, which is 13th in the league, and their 36.2% three-point shooting, which is 16th in the league. Compared to last year, they were terrible. Now, their defensive improvements is they're allowing 5 points less a game than they did last year. And JB Bickerstaff is a defensive coach who's good at player development, 113.2 points a game compared to last year's 118.6. And I think these developments are why the enticing opportunity to gain the experience in a playoff push could be a valuable experience for a young team like Detroit. Obviously, you got to be cautious because not to sacrifice any long-term flexibility for the short-term success. And with Jaden Ivey being sidelined potentially for, it seems like, the rest of the season after that surgery on that broken fibula, Detroit's going to have to adjust to its rotation, what they've been doing to fill that void, who was having a career averaging almost 18 points, 4 assists per game, shooting 41% from beyond the arc. And he was just critical for this team's success. And his absence is obviously going to create opportunities for players to step up, and it's JB Bickerstaff and the Pistons' job to identify who's going to fill that role effectively without disrupting the team chemistry, and the next year can be effective when he comes back. And obviously, Tobias Harris has been steady, 13 points a night, 6.5 rebounds, shooting 45% from the floor. He's probably going to be the guy who's going to take a bulk of those shots that he's giving up, and he's playing pretty decent defense. Also, Tim Hardaway Jr., 36% from 3, almost 11 points a night, has been a really solid. Both guys, good leaders who can complement Cade Cunningham's playmaking, especially in high-pressured situations. Now, Jalen Duren's actually one of the league's most efficient big men, shooting almost 70% at 68% from the field. Now, there are moments on defense that are head-scratching, but dude, the guy's averaging almost a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds on 70% from the field. So it's just like it's head-scratching. Like, he's good, but it's almost like he doesn't have good feel or instincts. I don't know. Marcus Sasser is a second-year guard who's going to get his minutes seen. He played a lot more his rookie year. He's averaged 5.8 points and shot 38% from threes. Really good defensive player. He's got good tenacity, but he's going to be someone that I think we're going to see him get some more run like he did his rookie year. Then his teammate, Asar Thompson, we've already seen him start to play more and more. And he's the other guy who's having a better year since coming back from the blood clots. Almost 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals a game. He's a guy who's been fantastic. You know, the guy who's going to benefit from this the most is rookie forward Ron Holland, who can actually play a little bit of the two, as he's averaging 6.6 points on 48% from the field. And he's the ability to play the 2, the 3, and even the 4 and contribute on the boards as 3 rebounds a game almost will allow him, I think, to gain some minutes in a JB Bickerstaff's rotation, as JB Bickerstaff likes that. So I think Isaiah Stewart, who is averaging like 6 and 6 this year, shooting 52% from the field, he's a guy who's always brought grit and toughness, and his impact on the floor physically is going to grow. I think Simone Fontecchio, who had a run last year, he hasn't been getting much minutes this year, will also get runs. These are all also both guys who could be candidates for trade if they were looking to upgrade. And Paul Reed was brought back. I think they like him. He likes them. He's just also on a 1-year deal, so it's in their best interest, his best interest to play well. I think outside of, when
while playoff push is obviously going to be exciting for players and fans, Detroit's obviously going to have to weigh the benefits of postseason experience against the risk of jeopardizing the future growth and just capital and flexibility. The current roster, though improved, still has some structural issues. Questions remain about the fit of the wings with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, as well as who's their power forward? Will Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart coexist? Who's the actual center moving forward? So there are some uncertainties suggesting that Detroit could or should maintain some level of flexibility in their assets, prioritizing a move that aligns with their long-term future. Now, I don't think they're at a crossroads yet, but they do need a balance with building a sustainable roster while engaging in a playoff push to play games that are meaningful. JB Bickerstaff's obviously doing a good job of developing this team. He's unlocked significant growth in this team's potential, and they have a competitive edge that we haven't seen out of them for a while. Yes, with Jaden Ivey being out of the season, the roster still needing adjusting. I think the Pistons are trying to be strategic and utilizing that $14 million cap space. If you can get a first-round pick or a salary dump like a Pat Connaughton, who fit their team's timeline or the cap flexibility, I think while it allows you to continue to develop and ensure that everyone's still able to be competitive while being patient and managing your assets correctly, while focusing on that type of long-term cohesion, is what's going to allow the Pistons to establish themselves as a actual rising force in the Eastern Conference. That's my 2 cents on that one. Bye.